Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Marci Henson. I'm the Director of the Department of Environment and Sustainability for Clark County, and welcome to the September meeting of the Clark County Transportation Electrification Working Group. So for the agenda today, we're going to do some quick introductions on working group members. We're going to provide an update on what we've been doing up to this point. Marie Steele is here from NV Energy to give us an update on the Energy Transportation Electrification Plan that they submitted about this time last week. We will be looking to gather some information from the working group on economic and workforce development opportunities as it relates to electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure here in Southern Nevada. We'll provide a quick update on ordinance and then do questions and answers and discuss next steps. All right, so for interjections, we'll handle this the way we normally do. I'll call on organizations, agencies, and members, and if their representatives here today could just do a quick introduction, just state your name, we would appreciate it. All right, Chispa. All right, City of Boulder City. City of Henderson.
Good afternoon, this is Anne Marie Smith with the City of Henderson.
Thank you. City of Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Marco Vallada, City of Las Vegas.
City of North Las Vegas. All right, Clark County School District. NAOP.
Yeah, Dave Strickland with NAOP. I'm just subbing in for Rod Martin, and I occasionally join in, so thanks for having me.
All the hardest questions for NAOP go to David, so. All right, Nevada Climate Initiative.
Hi, Kristen Averett here.
Nevada Department of Transportation.
Hi, Candy here.
INDEP.
Hello, Greg Lovato.
NV Energy.
I think we got a lot of the team here, but obviously Marie Steele is as well.
All right, anyone else from NV Energy who'd like to introduce themselves?
Hello, Adam Grant with NV Energy.
All right, Governor's Office of Energy. Nevada Resort Association.
Hi, Virginia Valentine.
Hi, Virginia. Nevada State Apartment Association, or any multifamily representative who might be able to join us today. All right, Regional Transportation Commission.
Hi, everyone. Deb Reardon with Southern Nevada Strong.
Southern Nevada Water Authority.
Hi there, Keely Brooks with SNWA.
Southern Nevada Home Builders Association.
Matt Walker with Howard Hughes on behalf of the Home Builders Association, and I believe Nat Hodgson and Amanda Moss are on as well.
We are, thank you.
Great. Hello, everyone. All right, Southwest Energy Efficiency Project.
Angie Dykema with Southwest Energy Efficiency Project.
The Electrification Coalition.
Hey, this is Will Dreyer with the EC.
Great. And finally, Western Resources Advocates. All right, okay. So for questions, if you have questions, you can raise your hand on your profile or put it in the chat. And we keep these pretty informal. So we tend to take questions during the subject topics as well, subjects and topics that we discuss, as well as doing, making sure we end with a Q&A section at the end of the meeting. So real quick, if you are an interested party who's joined us here today and you're not a formal member of the working group, we'd invite you to please list your name and organization in the chat. And welcome to the meeting. And I'll turn this over to April for an update.
All right, thanks everyone. April Bolduc from SCurve Strategies, and we've been partnering with Clark County on the Regional Transportation Electrification Plan. And I'll just provide a brief update as to where we are in line with the development of the Regional Transportation Electrification Plan to date. We, in the past, over the last month, or so, we have been discussing a model EV ordinance and those cost estimates in order for us to shape potential next steps for that ordinance are going to be due on September 23rd. We'll talk about this a little bit more later in the meeting. In October, we'll look at how we're going to go about reviewing that draft ordinance. And then we'll also in November review the draft, a transportation electrification strategy, and also the December transportation electrification strategy will be due. In October is going to be our meeting that's in person. So we look forward to seeing you all at the county buildings. And if you log on to the county's website, you can just type into the search Transportation Electrification Working Group. You'll see all of the registration links that you can sign up for any future meeting there. You can also look at recordings and past presentations there as well. And to just look at what this plan is going to entail, it's really these core pieces. We talked about the current and future projections of electric vehicle adoption. We talked about projections for charging. We talked about what are the different needs that we have in our region for EV charging. We talked about the model ordinance. Last month, we discussed a little bit of what types of recommendations can we make to the PUCN. You know, where can we add value there? And then we're going to have a repository for all of this kind of for government collaboration. Where is that going to live and where is that going to be housed? So we'll be talking about that more next month, as well as the Clean Cities Coalition. And I mentioned the PUCN, any recommendations that we can provide. So we're really, really excited that we have today Marci Steele, because they just filed their plan. As Marci mentioned, the Transportation Electrification Plan. So this is really a time for us to lean in. We'll get the first really overview from the utility as to, you know, since they filed, what will be in this plan. And then we look forward for your participation and then your questions after Marci's presentation. So Marci, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Let me see how I'm doing with the, let's stop your sharing and do mine real quick. Sec. There we go. Are we seeing a full screen?
Yes.
There we go.
Well, actually, we see your, yes.
Do you see the
notes?
I don't want to see the notes. Hold on. What's the right way to do this? How about that?
That's perfect.
Cool. Great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's nice to be here today. Obviously, like you just talked about, we did file the Transportation Electrification Plan on September 1st last week on Thursday. And so we're excited to give you a broad overview of it today. Obviously, as we've been learning and talking about it, electric utility filings are very large. And so it is docket 22-09006. You can find it on the Public Utilities Commission website under electric dockets there. And then it is actually 3 volumes. The first volume contains the narrative. The second volume contains testimonies across different people from the company representing different topics. And then the third has the appendices related to it. So today, obviously, broad level policy decisions and some of the program design, but certainly can't get into all the details of it today, right? And so, you know, as we've talked about how to get engaged, it will be a contested hearing, that there will be discovery. And so certainly there's opportunities to submit your letters of interest, letters, right? And then also an intervener in the testimony or in the docket. So lots of things from here, but wanted to make sure you all had an overview, right? So Like we talked about, the Transportation Electrification Plan is designed to accelerate transportation electrification with support for all customer classes. Those program benefits to maximize the grid. Sorry, I've been talking too much lately. Right, so the vehicle grid integration to maximize the benefits to the grid, and also that investment now to make sure that we're doing what is necessary in Nevada. So just so you guys know, right, we've been talking about this, but there are 3 EV programs that NV Energy has. Our current incentive program, the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Demonstration Program, EVID as we call it, is actually fully subscribed. So it is great news, success, right? You know, and we are certainly really appreciative of all the engagement around it. And pushing out the word and what we had to offer to customers as they do that. And then as well, obviously the Economic Recovery Transportation Electrification Plan, working on that public infrastructure build out. And then this is obviously the TEP to serve all customer classes across a different host of things. And this will be the plan going on in perpetuity. So, talking about why, right? Really settling into this. So electric vehicle load is coming, right? And so, you know, even as we look at these heat waves that are happening as we speak, right? We're at the tail end of it, right? You know, how do we optimize and utilize this new load to the benefit of Nevadans? And quite frankly, as we sit here in Southern Nevada today, an even better component. So we have a unique opportunity to do this, you know, due to the energy required to serve NV Energy's customers during its hottest days, means we have a lot of excess capacity in many other months and many other hours of the day, right? And so if we can put electric vehicle load where there is excess capacity, there's this unique opportunity to utilize existing resources to serve this load. And so NV Energy has been thinking about this obviously for a really long time, right? We've had electric vehicle time of use tariffs since like 2007 or 2009. We've required that charging infrastructure can be communicated with since 2013. And so as we go towards this, optimizing this load, we have a really great opportunity here to make sure that unmanaged charging doesn't happen, right? Unmanaged charging might happen coincident to peak, which is also right when your air conditioner kicks on, and that's a problem. But through control technologies and tariff design, we have the opportunity to move it, right? And one of the things, two things that we propose in the plan, right, is a managed charging program. And that will evolve over time as our technology evolves, and also how we can integrate in with vehicles and also the charging infrastructure. Another big thing that we proposed is that our electric vehicle time of use rate, so that EBRR rider is what we call it, we proposed to change the off-peak hours. And so now it is proposed, right? I'm going to keep saying proposed, from midnight to noon, right? So before, when we think of our excess capacity, it used to all be at night. But as we do all of this renewable energy development, we have excess renewables in the morning and into those early afternoon hours. So how can we put electric vehicle load actually to match up to excess renewable energy, right? And so that's a really great opportunity for us here. And so we put that forth, just making sure that we can use the renewable energy that we have. So the plan, we put forth the plan across the different use cases, right? Usually our customer programs are commercial or residential, right? But we actually took it from a different lens, and it's probably from a different lens that you saw it maybe a month or so ago, is really this personal vehicle programs and commercial vehicle programs. Because quite frankly, as we've identified, a lot of infrastructure that may be needed for personal vehicles, residents don't have the authority right to do it, right? Because they only are in charge of their own home. So those multifamily programs as well as some of the public infrastructure. So we proposed a program, right? And so the total budget is $348 million. That is not over this 2-year period, right? We've been talking about this 2-year period. This is a program that if you are enrolled right inside of those 2 years, the spend will happen over many years across that time frame. And we'll walk through each one of the programs here as well, but just wanted you to see this breakdown too. Another thing that your eye might be drawn to is that plan contingency at $15 million. That is not the contingency within the estimates. This is this incremental plan contingency, just so you guys are aware that you don't think that we have almost no contingency in some of this infrastructure build out. Just wanted you to know that this is incremental on top. So how are we going about this? We're really trying to set this footprint for the future. And so while there is a whole bunch around transportation electrification that is related to the charger, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that needs to happen that we can realize those benefits that we talked about, right? So we need to plan for a future and a skilled workforce. And so one of the things that we've been talking about to this working group, right, is how much infrastructure is actually needed, right, in the public space. You know, what does freight look like in the future? What does medium and heavy duty look like in the future? We don't know that yet, right? And so a transportation analytics and planning tool to help us understand what is the right efficient amount of public infrastructure in the future that we need to think forward towards. Also, when we think as well in the residential space, you know, being able to identify electric vehicle load to plan for it, right? And so if you think of your home energy reports right now, we tell you that you're using this much of your air conditioner and you're using this much of your, you know, your water heater and things like that. We want to be able to identify electric vehicles the same. And so it's called disaggregation, right? How do we identify where those vehicles are? Next is, I think we've talked about this a ton, is the line extension policy. How do we build for infrastructure of the future? And so the one thing, you know, we are proposing is a residential Rule 9 electric line extension EV allowance adder. So we did not propose a multifamily or a commercial one, recognizing we're still understanding what these needs are. But the one component that we do really understand, obviously, is that one-to-one scenario in the residential home, right? And as we have those evolving conversations around the different use cases on multifamily and commercial, certainly those conversations can continue, but this residential Rule 9 EV adder is in the plan as proposed. Also, to a skilled workforce, we've proposed installer requirements, right? We want to make sure that we've got the workforce of the future for this clean energy economy. And so you will see a continuation of the electric vehicle infrastructure training program certification requirements. Incrementally, you will also see the ESAM-TAC, which is the energy storage and microgrid training certification as well, and then also the statutorily required solar installer requirements. And so really trying to make sure that we're building, but then also learning. And so you'll see a lot in the plan related to how do we always challenge ourselves to process improve? You know, what are we going to learn from the build out this infrastructure across maybe permitting, right? So not just NV Energy, but also with our permitting authorities, with the county as well. So how can we make this streamlined to really make a better process in the future? So we're excited about that. And then when we think about it as well, there's also the technology co-optimization. We recognize that EVs do not exist on their own, right? And so while I would love to believe that every one of our customers cares about which filing, which energy technology is in, I know that they don't. And so that is my problem to solve and not yours. But we want to look at these together, right? How do we create that integration that we were directed to do, but also want to see for the benefit of the grid? So we have proposed a smart panel integration trial. You know, also as well, we'll talk about this, the Inflation Reduction Act happening over the past month is really going to accelerate a lot of the distribution level distributed energy resources and technologies. And so one of the components is we really want to understand that smart panel. So we paired those with our 2 different residential programs. We've also proposed the Inflation Reduction Act innovation demonstration. And so that is pairing solar and storage with public charging infrastructure in those available census tracts. So you will see the ITC related to EV infrastructure in the Inflation Reduction Act. I almost went to like an 8th acronym there, so I had to stop myself calling it the IRA already. But really trying to optimize those tax and production tax credits to pass back on to NV Energy customers, while we are also looking at optimizing those technologies together to the benefit of the grid, right? Another one as well is the residential charging incentive program, and then also the residential turnkey program. And so that is residential chargers in partnership, right? We just talked with smart panels. We also, with the residential turnkey, chargers are paired with rooftop solar, with battery storage. There's also vehicle to grid charging, as well as another use case that we really want to understand is 2 EVs, right? And so 2 electric vehicle chargers paired with battery storage. And then also having those paired with the smart panels, and also looking for certain customers, whether they may have their own rooftop solar. So really designing this co-optimization and study of different flexible load technologies and distributed energy resources. So that is in the program designs there, right? And so a whole bunch of vehicle grid stuff that I just talked about. How are we going to do that and make sure that we do that integration via system integration, right? So we have those technical requirements that carry through from the Economic Recovery Transportation Electrification Plan. We do also have the same performance requirements on charging infrastructure related to uptime, making sure that we have that reliable infrastructure meeting our transportation fueling needs. We also have the integration with our advanced Distributed Energy Resource Management System. This is called a DERMS. It's an acronym. If you don't know, you will probably start to learn, right? That is an ongoing implementation. So the company is working with Oracle in a big IT revolution. And so we have contracted with Oracle to build an advanced DERMS for us. So that will be overlaying all of those technologies as well. We are also investigating, but not asking for, right? Investigating with Oracle as well, the ability to do direct billing on NV Energy billing, right? So that you can just have it on your NV Energy bill. So we are looking into that as if that's possible. And so there's some stuff, right? You'll see throughout the plan is we're saying we need to go check this out, right? And we will come back. There's an update the next year, or there's the next plan. And so you'll see that theme throughout the plan. And then as well from a tariff perspective, enabling this flexible load. So I've talked about it a little bit already. So we're proposing a managed charging program. And so when you think about that, as in the events that we were just in, right, your air conditioners, right, curtailing that load a little bit, whether it's through a charger or through the electric vehicle, how do we create programs like that? And so that's proposed there. We also, from a great news perspective, are tying it to infrastructure programs that have already exist. And so we're really excited to be able to aggregate some of that load together. Again, too, just the electric vehicle rate rider. So that EVTOU, that changing time frame from the off peak to 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. to get that excess renewables in the morning. And so that will flow through all of our TOU tied tariffs, right? So that includes the electric vehicle commercial charging rider TOU, that's tied to the TOU, it's in the name, right? And also the NV Energy electric vehicle charging network tariff that is tied to a TOU as well. We have also proposed just expanding the eligibility for the electric school bus vehicle to grid trial, because we are proposing to expand the eligibility of school districts in that program. So that is the proposals around tariffs. We do recognize that given that we are in some IT development, we're excited for the implementation of the DERMS and also a new billing system that in the future, maybe we get to more dynamic pricing. But right now, these are the proposals around tariffs. See, there we go. So the personal vehicle programs, just going to run through them real quick. As you go through the plan, they're obviously huge detail to them. I think my favorite word lately around, electric utility filings, they are dense, right? And so just a fair warning for you guys, right? But on the personal vehicle side, right? So we've obviously residential technical advisory services. And so those are the tools that we can help folks evaluate whether or not they can go electric. A lot of this is carrying forth what was already existing in our current EBID program, right? So the EV calculator, how do you do that? New program is the lower income telematics program. And so really here, the intent was to propose a new program to help low income customers really see if they can figure out how to go electric and using telematics to do that, to see if the benefits support them. Also continuation of the lower income electric vehicle rebate program. One of the changes here, obviously, not obviously, but an increase to the amount of the rebate, but a decrease in the MSRP that is allowed. Another thing continuing on, which has been a great success with the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association, is a continuation of that dealer partner program, making sure that we have dealers educated on all of the components of selling an electric vehicle. Touched on a little bit too, we have two residential programs. There is the residential charger incentive program and then the residential turnkey charger program. Both of these are approaching the totality of the cost of the project. And this is one of the things, as we look to how much we can learn around our own Rule 9 process with in installing electric vehicle charging stations at your home, right? And so this one, whether it's low income or historic, no, this one's low income. There's different incentive levels as well, but we're looking at this here. So those ones have a whole bunch of lengthy detailed narrative around it, but we do have a charger incentive program and then that turnkey program as well that's paired with either V2G, the battery storage, solar as well, looking for that integration component with the smart panel. Another one when we talk about that as well is then also different levels of level 2 charging. So we have a multi-family charger infrastructure program and a workplace charging infrastructure program. I lumped those two together because we are going back into the site profile scenario, right? So when you look into the plan, there are site profiles, there are one-line diagrams, there's detailed estimates, right? We've done a bottoms-up estimate of this infrastructure and the O&M associated with it as well. And so the level 2 are in banks of 10. And so for both multifamily and workplace, they are estimated at whether or not you are in a parking infrastructure or in a parking lot. And so that is another theme you will see across the plan is whether or not it's in a parking infrastructure or a parking lot. And then there is participation components in there. The continuation of the Interstate Corridor Charging Depot program, right? More sites there. It's been a great partnership. I was happy to hear Candy introduce herself. You know, as we look towards the IIJA investments and the NEVI funds, as we make sure that we're meeting the needs of getting this infrastructure across the highways. So the Interstate Corridor, I believe we just changed, I don't think we changed the profile there. I think it's the exact same site profile. A continuation of the urban charging depot programs as well. We did limit this down to one site profile, and the ERTEP program, there were 3. And so those 2 programs continuing going forward. And then the proposed commercial vehicle programs. So wanting to expand into commercial technical advisory services, this is seeking to find more. Obviously, we have technical advisory services, but also being able to find some self-serve tools, right? As people try to evaluate fleet electrification, the cursory view is very different than the detailed business case, right? And so we still want to support those, but some of it is, you know, we want to get a tool that helps people self-serve on some of these general fleet electrification topics. We have proposed a state, local, and tribal governments fleet telematics program. So there will be 2 telematics programs proposed in the plan that you will read, really trying to help people with these tools on evaluating if they can go electric and what would make sense and what infrastructure is required. We have said we still need to RFP these programs. So the super defined details on this are not there. We want to seek out some guidance. So if approved, right, these will be refined through that RFP process, but the concept is proposed in the plan on both those telematics solutions. We have also proposed a fleet charging infrastructure program. This has 2 different site profiles, whether it's level 2 or level 2 paired with DC fast chargers. But incremental to that, because the fleet charging program is on site, right? It's on your premise. We also recognize that sometimes, you know, to go electric, you're going to need infrastructure publicly available, but maybe also schedulable, right? And so we're thinking of these businesses where they are already in a shared fueling scenario. And so we've proposed a fleet charging depot program. The eligibility is prioritized to a couple use cases right now. And so one of them being at the airports, quite frankly, to help electrify rental cars. Incrementally, also site profiles to support auto dealers associations. There's, you know, if we've met with, I can't remember if we had this public meeting, but obviously keeping electric vehicles charged as into the sales process is pretty difficult, right? And so not every single auto dealer needs to have fast chargers, right? Or maybe they do, but we certainly propose this program there. So there is some eligibility tied to those. We have also proposed to continue the transit electrification grant in partnership, obviously, with the transit electrification working group. So in ERTEP, it is $6 million. We proposed an incremental $30 million, really trying to unlock that federal funding, right? This flexible use case, it's not meant to electrify the fixed route in Southern Nevada, right? That's going to be a different program. This is do they need R&D, right? Do they need a match fund that allows them to utilize a grant versus maybe taking away services from a local match? So working with our transit electrification grant to really strategically align on how we can go after some statewide and regional goals on transit electrification. And then I believe this is the last one. So the electric school bus vehicle to grid trial. This proposes to carry forward that program, obviously from ERTEP onto the remaining school districts. So in the Economic Recovery Transportation Electrification Plan, it was just Clark County, Washoe, and Carson City that were eligible, obviously from a budgetary constraint. And so we wanted to make sure that the rest of the school districts were eligible for that, and also in partnership, utilizing the federal funding too. So a lot of program design is optimized towards not just the IIJA, but the IRA. And so flowing through those tax and credit benefits back to NV Energy customers. So really just high level, focusing on breaking down the electrification barriers for communities most in need, right? So we're ensuring that historically underserved communities and low-income customers benefit from the transition to electric vehicles. We already talked about that, right? The telematics program, the rebate as well. Sorry, Patricia's sitting next to me. I've got my reminder in my ear. We're also expanding the electric school bus vehicle to grid trial, right? We just talked about that to offer additional opportunities in rural school districts and bring electric school buses to every community. And also providing that flexible funding to electrify Nevada's public transportation system. So the Transportation Electrification Working Group, just so everybody knows, that's the Nevada Division of Transportation Department. I always get division and department. So NDOT, RTC Southern Nevada, RTC Washoe, Campo, TRPA, and the Tahoe Transit Authority. So all of the entities responsible for transportation planning, MPOs, really strategically helping them. And then as well, we're really trying to make sure that we have economic opportunities for all Nevadans, right? Building and relying on a highly skilled workforce. Talked about this with the installer requirements, also really striving for that process streamlining and where we can gain efficiencies. And that's where, the standard site profiles and the standardizations really come in, is making sure that we can realize some great efficiencies from this program. Talked about it again, it optimizes Nevada's opportunities to take advantage of the Inflation Reduction Act and pass all of those benefits straight back to NV Energy customers. And also really hoping and setting forth strategies to ensure the electric vehicle load is flexible and utilizing existing NV Energy resources to serve this new load. It is such a fantastic opportunity for Nevada, and especially with renewable energies. And doing that with the system integrations, with tariffs, managed charging, co-optimization with other technologies like smart panels, battery storage, solar, and other flexible load technologies, right? We've talked about it inside of all of our DR portfolio and energy efficiency. So we're excited to get all that optimization together. But we can't do that without our customers, without engaging with our communities, right? How are we going to go about this and support them with their journey? Very fortunately, right, we've been doing this for quite some time. And so we're excited to learn from some stuff and make some things better, but taking people from that journey. And obviously, general marketing and outreach is a big component of it. We have a new campaign this year around our Power Shift brand. Excited to expand that significantly around transportation electrification and the benefit it brings to Nevadans. But the new thing to propose is the community-based organization educational services grant. And so making a grant to do partnerships with these community-based organizations on how to get into these exact communities, how to create new messaging and partnerships, and do that through a competitive grant as a proposal in the plan as well. And this is my last slide. So really strive to design to benefit all Nevadans. Make sure that nobody thinks that this is just for EV drivers, right? So EVs are happening, and so we can design such that everybody benefits from it, right? And so this is significant investment in transportation electrification is needed in the short term to ensure the state's charging infrastructure is safe and reliable. These early investments will set the foundation to ensure optimal grid integration of the increasing electric vehicle load and to maintain the reliability of the electric system. The recent federal legislation provides additional opportunities that, when utilized by NV Energy, can provide savings that will flow directly back to NV Energy customers. They got the unique programs to support low income and historically underserved communities, and really hitting on that skilled workforce as well. So that is what I've got from just a high level and what you'll see in the plan. I'll stop sharing and then I will head back over.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was great. Good overview. And we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. You can either post your question in the chat or unmute yourself. All right. And we'll start with Greg.
Hi, Greg Lovato with NDEP. Thanks, Marie, for the presentation. And I was curious if we're going to be doing the update to the greenhouse gas inventory and projections again this year annually. And when I think the legislature passed SB 448, they were wanting to see whether there's the ability to translate this electrification plan into GHG reductions. And I know it's a complicated, obviously set of things, but I'm wondering, are there aspects of what was submitted to the PUC in terms of like electric vehicle adoption rate assumptions, or are there pieces of that NDEP could look to kind of make sure that we're at least aware of and hopefully not inconsistent with how NV Energy, projected these things out?
Sure. So yes, and we need to evolve that process, right? So this plan has an electric vehicle load forecast, and so it's filed as part of our integrated resource plan, which comes with a load forecast, which has EV load in it. As well, the Transportation Electrification Plan forecasts greenhouse gas reduction rate benefits is just part of the benefits, but we do recognize that this is not fully integrated into the IRP process, and that we do need better tools around DER forecasting, not just EVs. And so we do say in the plan that the 2024 IRP, when this is integrated into the full envelope of the IRP and the DRP and the TRP, because this was an amendment, that those things will be a little sharper, I guess is the way to put it, but with new tools, right? And so, but they are in there. And so we do have an EV forecast. It's part of the study that we have made publicly available, but we're also in the process of getting a new tool to integrate into our larger load forecasting tool to help us better understand all DER and the environmental benefits.
Thanks.
Great, good question. All right, Marco, you're next.
I'm perusing volume 1 right now.
Dense. Do you want to say dense?
Yeah, I mean these typically are, right? I guess the first question I had, what's the timing on the hearing for this? Do you know?
We haven't, I don't know the definitive timing, but I think based upon the clock, we do get a ruling sometime in February. I don't know if Adam wants to jump in, but we have not started the official discovery process nor had a pre-hearing conference, but I think it's not, or November-ish is probably what you're thinking.
Okay.
I could be a little off, but it's certainly going to be the fall because we have a ruling sometime in the early spring.
I ask because I'm presenting a report to City Council, and it includes IRA related opportunities, and I just wanted to make sure I touched on that and just passing it along internally, just so people have an idea of when it might hit. As far as some of these other tariffs that are in here, I'll reserve my question for now.
Yeah, I mean, so that's that point, right? So we'll be going through the discovery process. There's a lot in there, right? And so, happy to take those questions offline, but as well, it's going to go through a hearing process, right? And so certainly this is a topic people have strong feelings about, and so we'll go through that process as well. But Marco, follow up anytime if you've got specific questions or however we can support your reporting to the city.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Great, thank you, Marie. I don't see any more questions in the chat or hands raised. So again, thank you so much for that presentation. That was great, comprehensive. I know it was a lot of work too, so. All All right, we will go ahead and move on. And I think it also brings up a good point that you touch on how we'll go about submitting comments. So I think over the next month, if you're interested in this and it's something that you want to be engaged in, go ahead and read the submission, and we can talk about what maybe questions that you have at our next meeting. We can reserve some time at that meeting for that. We can also just take those questions. If you have some direct questions for either Marci or myself, please just feel free to shoot us an email, and we can take a look at that there. But I think as engaged or not as this group wants to be, we're happy to support and help there. All right.
April, I think Angie has a question.
Oh, sure. Angie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just dropped it in the chat. Sorry, I was trying to get it out when it hit send. But the proposed residential line extension policy, can you give any details on what exactly is proposed, or how would it, what is it?
I think you might be on mute, Marie.
So it's described in detail, so everybody has it, right? I think I'll probably send to you guys at least a framework of where things are and what pages they're on, right? But it's in the vehicle grid integration component, which I believe is section 8. It's under building codes. So it adds, the adder represents a value that's incremental to the current single family standard allowance and is based on the estimated kilovolt that an electric vehicle charger would contribute to the cost of an overall line extension project. And so the adder value proposed is $128 per kW. I believe that's in Sierra, and then 182 in Nevada Power. And so it's 17. Anyhow, I will send it to you with the exact location, but that is it's based upon per home, a credit per home, per operating utility.
Great. Anything else? All right. And Marco, I see that you posted the link in the chat, which is great.
Thank you, Marco.
All right. So we had talked about last month economic and workforce development, that we would cover that a little bit here. Really, this is meant to just get a discussion going, and then also ask the question, what either current or future economic and workforce development efforts do you have taking place around transportation electrification? So just in looking what's taking place in federal funding for EVs, up until this time, there's been $3 billion in federal funding that has been allocated, and 60% of it was focused on buses. This doesn't include the tax credits, so $3 billion. So when we look at what's being allocated now, $100 billion is eligible, and the focus is really more on electric vehicles versus transit. So thinking about the fact that that's 30 times what the total EV funding award has been to date, obviously economic and workforce development in each of our regions has also been a focus. And we know from the NDOT's plan that they submitted, the Nevada State Plan for EV charging infrastructure deployment. Specifically, they spoke with EV charging manufacturers. And this was one of the consensus, a consensus that came out of that effort with those charging manufacturers. So, and we know that with a lot of work that's being done to date, that this really is a focus, and especially, for example, for the utility. So I just listed some of the efforts that we currently know about that are taking place and have, some have been in the works for a long, long time. And so just touching here quickly, we have NV Energy, their ERTET program. So their focus on training programs, and then also the statute that was developed for SB 448. And it's great that they're going to be partnering with the Electrical Joint Apprentice and Training Center of Southern Nevada. And the focus there is to really, train these technicians. In the NDOT's plan, they're going to be reserving funds to invest in their local EV workforce development, where these charging stations are going to be installed. So they're really going to be looking to meet or exceed what the NEVI workforce certification is, and then also consider that SB 448. We know that the College of Southern Nevada, they have their applied science degree, and that's for alternative fuel and hybrid technology. So these are just kind of some of the things to get you thinking. And I'm going to just open it up to the group and see if there is anything taking place just within either your organizations on, what other workforce development efforts are out there, either that you're already implementing or you're thinking about implementing, or you see a need. That's something that we want to take a look at and include in the Regional Transportation Electrification Plan that we're developing out of this effort. So I will just go ahead and open it up to the group and see if there's anything there that we should be including. All right, so I don't hear anything yet. And if there is anything in the future, if you can shoot myself or Marci an email, that would be great. I think some of the things too that we can include in the plan would be around just best practices that we've seen taken place in other areas. We already know, I mentioned NV Energy, that they're really focused in this space. They're doing a lot of work to ensure that the charging stations that are installed, that they do have these trained workers. So we'll, oh, and Amanda.
Hey,
yeah.
Oh,
Amanda Moss.
Yeah, hey, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. For the record, my name is Amanda Moss with the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association. Thank you for the opportunity. We are very excited. We just last week got a trade high school, a public charter school approved through the state public charter school authority. And we have had meetings with our executive director, Julie Carver, with a member of folks at the International Code Council, Southern Nevada chapter, as well as folks in the Governor's Office of Energy related to some certification, some ICC pieces. So we're excited to incorporate that into our curriculum. We anticipate that 600 high school students will be from the 89110 zip code will be at this school receiving college credit while working collaboratively on the both career and college ready pathways to attract more folks into the construction workforce. So we're still putting together, we have the first 2 years plan in terms of curriculum, but I think that should there be any workforce development or education type pieces in the energy space, I think that there's potentially some future conversations that can happen with that.
That's great. That would be fantastic. Yeah, sounds like you have a really well developed program there. That's fantastic. Anything else? All right, Kirsten, would you like to speak on that? On what you have in the chat?
Hi, Kirsten here from the Nevada Clean Energy Fund. I do not work for Envirolution. I work for the Nevada Clean Energy Fund, but I know Envirolution is the 501c3 that has worked with a variety of different school districts and teachers in K through 12 in Nevada to develop kind of sustainability and clean energy education, and they're adding EV curriculum to that as well, and potentially accessing some federal funds to support that effort.
That's fantastic. Good to know. Great. We've made note of that. Perfect. Thanks for letting us know. Anything else before we move on? And I also think too, for any government agencies that are looking for towards fleet electrification. If there is any information as you're going through that process that you're looking with training your own workforce, that's even the type of information that we're thinking of to just get a good comprehensive view on who is training their employees, even if it's just a handful of employees or a large number of employees about transportation electrification. It would be great to include that information. All right, anything else before we move on to the next topic? Okay, ordinance update. Just was it a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, the City of Tucson, they made a ruling on their EV code. So effective December 1st of this year, they're going to require the following for all new development. So for new commercial development, multifamily, office, retail, to include EV stations or outlets, as well as the conduit to support the future expansion, just working towards making that EV capable. And so for residential, 1 or 2 family is for construction to be EV ready. This chart was taken from their news release, and it gives you just a breakdown of how they're looking at that. And then when I'll submit this presentation to be posted to the county website today, along with the video. So it'll most likely be posted on Monday, but there are some links throughout the presentation that you would be able to access here as well. David.
Yeah, April, thanks. Hey, so when it says multifamily 30%, office 20%, retail 15%, is that how many spaces out of all the parking spaces are that are going EV ready?
That's my understanding.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you'll see there for retail that there is an exception. So for retail, anything with less than 50 parking spaces are exempt from these requirements.
So are there any special exceptions that would be applicable within like their Muni code or ARS, their revised statutes that would allow variances? I guess that'd be the other thing. Is this like a...
Yeah, I think we would, yeah, we'd have to dive into it probably a little deeper to understand that. And we could even ask them to, you know, speak.
Yeah, I'd just be curious as to what the parameters are on that.
Yeah.
If that's something that is a hard and fast requirement or not.
Right.
And similarly, I'd like to see if they took a similar approach to the Florida models we looked at in terms of, is this new parking being constructed, or is this or is some additional conversion triggered and other types of extensive remodels or additions?
Yeah, that's a great point. Good point.
Yeah, we can get some details on it. So we're not necessarily looking at this as a model. So David, you can stop breathing into your paper bag now.
Well, I mean, Marci, I specifically, when I travel around, I take pictures of the EV charging in front of office buildings for you.
To remind yourself that it really exists in real life.
That's right.
So this was more of just, you know, making you guys aware. We've been giving you some updates on what other communities are doing, but you know, if there's interest, we can dive a little bit further into the details and try to get you, you know, maybe some of the code language. They probably did a presentation to their council. So if that would be helpful, we can send it along.
Rod.
Hi, April.
Yeah.
Just following up on David's question, as far as, you know, the percentages applied to the existing parking, I just wanted to clarify, April, because on your worksheet, it was tied to required parking. And just wanted to get clarity on that. And maybe it's a Marci question, you know, when it comes to writing the county's ordinance, would it be based on the actual proposed parking, or would it be based on county required parking?
Required parking. So this is, so what Tucson did is a little different. So, yeah.
And They're not imposing anything on industrial warehouse.
It doesn't look like it.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Rod. And then Deborah had a question. She said, is there any reason that this code doesn't apply to public facilities? We don't know specifically why not, Deborah, but we can look into that.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, anything else on that? Okay. So just jumping into our cost estimate templates, we just wanted to get a quick gut check of who will be submitting cost estimates and for which scenarios, whether that be, office, retail, single family. Wanted to throw that question out there again, and those estimates would be due on September 23rd. So can we just get a quick shout out from those of you that are looking to submit? Yes, Rod.
Oh, no, I didn't have a question. I just raised my hand that I'm intending.
Awesome, love it. Thank you. Got it.
What a good responder.
I know you are.
I intend to submit one for each property category. So that you guys can kind of pick which ones you're low on design for.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Hey, Matt, will you be submitting one on office buildings as well?
Yes, like a larger Class B corporate headquarters style building, but also like a Class A tower.
Okay, cool.
Just to give a little variety for the group to choose from.
Great, thanks.
And April, this is Amanda with Home Builders. I know I owe you an email from this morning, so I apologize. We intend to submit, right now I'm working with 3 builders to try to understand their costs and kind of get an industry average from us for single family attached and detached product types. And I'm going to try to, if I can, I know the deadline's coming up, look into the multifamily space as well, and reach out to NBE very, very soon. So
okay, great. And then speaking of just NBE on this, does anyone, any of those who just spoke, do you have any questions or need any assistance just regarding Rule 9? Getting feedback from the utility on that?
I think it's fair to say there's several clarifying questions about the are we talking about the Rule 9 filing, or are we just talking about kind of zeroing
just as it relates to your estimate?
Yeah, I think we still have a few clarifying questions. Of course, we're a lot further down the road than when we started with Marie and team's help. But yeah, still have some questions, and I'll definitely be following offline expeditiously, as well as the folks at the association. Okay,
great.
Yeah, I know Marie has talked with folks from the team over at NV Energy, and they're ready to help you guys understand what the cost implications would be as it relates to the Rule 9 line item that we had on the survey that were requested. So those resources are available if you need them.
I was hoping that at least if we read through the 400 pages of the filing, that we'd get some sort of coupon for a couple communities. But I'll follow up offline.
Yeah.
Well, we can recommend that in our intervention, that there should be a coupon. You did get the single family residential adder though.
Very much appreciated. And it'll be a great conversation, I'm sure.
Awesome. All right. So just next steps. Our next meeting will be in person on October 6th, same time, 2 to 4, same location that we had our first in-person meeting at the Clark County building. There is a new registration link for that meeting. So I'll be sending around an email so that everyone can register for that. And then also that link will be in this presentation. And as we know that the in-person meetings, we just don't have the capabilities to record them. So if you do look for that recording online, you will not find it. So we hope you attend. And then this is the information on where you can find those recordings. And we already talked about the cost estimates. So I think that is it for us. At this time, we can go ahead and open it up for discussion. If there are any questions, and Angela, I see you do have a question. So it's, will the cost estimates be distributed for review prior to the October 7th meeting? Marci, how would you like to handle that?
Let's see. Yeah, we game planned out. I don't know that I can commit to getting it to you beforehand, Angie, but we'll make sure that our plan was to make sure it gets presented at the October 6th meeting. If we can get it out, we'll do our best to do that. Maybe it would only be a couple days, but we're prepared to give you guys some time to look at it, and we can spend some time, if we need to, in the November meeting as well, kind of going through more questions that folks have. But it's a good point, and we'll do our best to get it out to folks a little bit earlier. And then, it might be helpful if folks who are submitting, not to put you on the spot, but think about if we were to reach out and ask you to help us walk through. The plan is also generalize those so that, we're not giving out any proprietary industry information. So there's a little bit of scrubbing that needs to happen just in terms of not giving away any proprietary trade secret type information. So we'll do our best to get some of that information out ahead of time. For folks who are submitting, think about whether or not you'd be willing to participate in presenting the cost estimates and sort of walking the group through your work and your analysis and being prepared to answer questions. But I take your point, Angie, and we'll come up with a game plan on that.
Good question. Any other questions? All right. I think we will go ahead and give everyone some time back in their day. Thanks again, Marie, for presenting. That was great. And we look forward to chatting with you all next month. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thanks all.